Some people like to deep clean every Saturday morning. I prefer to spend a few minutes every day keeping things fresh with Lysol. Lysol's all-purpose cleaner cleans and kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria. It can be used on hard, non-porous surfaces, like the kitchen, bathroom, and other areas in your home. Don't just clean, Lysol clean.
Meet the next generation of podcast stars with SiriusXM's Listen Next program, presented by State Farm. As part of their mission to help voices be heard, State Farm teamed up with SiriusXM to uplift diverse and emerging creators. Tune in to Stars and Stars with Issa, as host Issa Nakazawa dives into birth charts of her celeb guests. This is just the start of a new wave of podcasting. Visit statefarm.com to find out how we can help prepare for your future. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Today is the day you will lose fat. Come see Dr. T at NJ Diet.
Easiest diet I've ever done. It's changed my life. Come see Dr. T.
Using blood work and DNA testing. 1-855-5-NJ-DIET and NJDiet.com. Change your life in only 40 days with NJ Diet. OG.
Make some noise!
Hip-hop artist Nino Graye has been killing it for years. He's one half of Glass City with Matthew M80, a part of the supergroup Almighty, which consisted of Cappadonna, Pelaneza, Bronze Nazareth, M80 as well, and Canibus, and now has released his newest album, No Peace for Kings. Nino Graye, welcome to the library with Tim Einenkel. Thank you for coming back.
Yo, what's up, Tim?
Nah,
always good to stop and talk to the brother.
You too, man. You too. I see you doing good things. So real quick, before we get to the obviously the new album, No Peace for Kings, when you were part of this supergroup with Almighty, what was kind of the biggest, I guess, lesson you learned about when you were collaborating with these artists, and then what surprised you the most when collaborating with this artist?
That's a good question. Probably, I have to say myself, because there was a couple guys in the group that I grew up listening to as well, and I'd kind of soaked up shit from, and or soaked things up from, excuse me. And it was weird to kind of apply that the way I'd listened and grown, and then be there with these guys. We were kind of creating the next blueprint for kids to listen to, you know. So it was surreal for me. But I think the biggest lesson I got was just always be prepared. Like, if you have to get ready, you're already late for the game. Just always stay on your toes. If writing is your thing, then don't ever stop. Like, don't start going to play pickup basketball and shit, because your pen will slide. And in that 1 month that you let that slide, there's 150 guys out there that are, you know, bottom of the barrel hungry. They in the gutter.
Right.
And they haven't stopped. They haven't set that pen down, you know. So I think the biggest thing I learned was just always be ready, always be prepared, stay focused, because you never know when the change comes, quite literally.
Was there anything that's kind of surprised you you said you kind of listened to these guys, so they're obviously, you know, some sort of inspirational for you. Was there anything that surprised you or didn't surprise you in terms of like their actual writing process, or something they did in the booth during the recording process, like kind of like, oh shit, I could take maybe I could write that down, or wow, I didn't realize they did that.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like when people say, like, don't meet your idols, because it kind of takes away that superhero or that kind of legendary shell. Mm-hmm. I think, but for me, it wasn't in a negative space. It was really good. It was like they're not these like unattainable feats that they created. Like, they're just humans like me, you know. They get shot, they bleed, they gotta unzip their pants and take a piss, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like, just another dude who's on his game, or another lady who is on her game. So I think that was probably the best part of it, was seeing that they were just focused and working on their craft as hard as the next guy, you know. They had established the name, but they didn't stop there. It was like, now I got it, you know, now I got the audience that I want. Let me keep them entertained, you know, so.
Cool. Let's turn to the album, No Peace for Kings. Before telling me kind of the story behind the name of the album, how, and you've released music before. How is this album different for you, and what's the similarities as well of this album in terms of your artistic process?
Gotcha. Well, I would have to say it's similar because and it's funny because right now there's this huge, I kind of want to say resurgence of quote unquote golden era hip hop going on, where there's a lot of underground guys doing the loops and the soulful kind of things that we grew up listening to that I think a lot of hip hop misses nowadays. Mm-hmm. Not that the other stuff's not good or it has its place in the facet of hip hop, but like West Side and Griselda and Mach Hami and Fahim and a couple of these more like real intelligent guys, they're kind of taking it back to where it was before. And I just felt like, oh, well, it's, hip hop that has some meanings, that has some substance is starting to get light again. I should probably push the pedal to the metal because my albums have always been like that. It's always been food for thought. I've always been, from listening to the stuff, I've always been pretty well hip hop rooted and didn't stray far away. So to see that it's coming full circle again is very cool. And, the catalog will speak for itself. People will go back and hear it and be like, oh, he's been doing this the whole time. It's just really how they feel. So I think in that way it helps because it's going to cut out a lot of bullshit. Right. People are going to get online and be like, oh, this dude dropped 3 albums and he sounded like Lil Pump. And then, 2018-19 hits and now he's rapping on everything. It sounds like he got it from Alchemist in the basement. So they're going to be like, oh, he's jumping on a bandwagon. But for the real hip-hop heads who listen and kind of absorb lyrics and take in the art, they're going to be like, oh, this guy's about it, So I feel like that puts me a little cut above the rest on that part.
The album title, No Peace for Kings, how did you come up with it? And was that something that came up after the album was recorded, during the process, or kind of did you have, all right, this is the name of the this is like my blackboard, right? Like I got the name of the album and this is kind of what I'm doing underneath it.
Yeah, right. So for me, at least in my process, I found as I've gotten older, I'm starting to be real conceptual. So like I'll get a title or something and I work under that. So No Peace for Kings definitely was there before the album. It's kind of like a motto. It's just like I studied, when I was younger and shit. And yeah, there's people still do this, kids. We still hit the books. We still do the knowledge and shit. But I used to study about royalty and about kings and the dukes and the earls and shit and how they used to carry themselves and how they gained notoriety and, they took care of everyone just based off their name and shit and the respect that it carried. And it kind of became like my MO, it became my modus operandi for how I handled myself in life and how I wanted the people around me to be. So there was a guy, I don't remember who, on some super nerd shit, but it was like 14th century or something. He said that, kings, you can find a crown on the floor anywhere. You just have to look for the nearest battle. But the thing that a king can't keep is peace, because somebody always wants to take your spot. So I feel like that really rung out true even nowadays. Kind of like you got to stay on your shit because there's always somebody there that's willing to take your spot and do it better, So if you really want to be a king, then you got to do it. And most of the times that means you got to be ready for battle at all times. So No Peace for Kings is like a mind state, you know what I'm saying? It's just always be prepared, and you don't have to get prepared,
Right. The track Bonaparte, I can't speak today. You spit music like to shit in your veins and make your brain float. For you, what's the purpose of music for you, and what do you think hip hop's responsibility is for the people?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I really think that the music, you've got to respect it. And I think that's a big difference between anybody who, say, kind of cut their teeth listening to hip-hop in the last 15 years versus the youngins and the generations coming out now. They kind of look at it as an escape or a hustle. Not to say that none of us did or any of our our old heads did too, but there was always a little sense of we know where we came from, and we have to kind of carry it and keep it at a pinnacle. You know, we can't let it get unpolished. We got to spit shine that shit all the time. I feel like a lot of the attitude now is like, I don't care about the legacy. What can it do for me? Like, how much money am I going to get before I'm done? Mm-hmm. And I think that changes a lot of the outcome on the music. They go into it writing for a different reason, so it doesn't come out the same as, say, that dude who's hungry and on the block every day and just wants you to hear his voice. The other dude done made $10 million, and all he talk about is fucking beer pong and smoking weed or something. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's really about the perspective, and I think the perspective is just real fucked up because they don't respect it. So to answer the question, I think music, it needs to guide, and not like corny, like you need to be a teacher or nothing, but you can't willingly put out information that you know these kids are going to follow and feel okay about it. Mm-hmm. So I definitely feel like if I say anything, I'm definitely trying to motivate or enlighten, you know what I'm saying, or shed light on something that maybe didn't have a voice before, or if it did have a voice, it wasn't very loud. I'm just trying to lend my lungs to it, and just add that angle, you know, because there's something for everybody on every project. And I try to remember you can't be everything for everyone at the same time. Hip hop artists, I think, forget that, and they want to be like the shining jewel and all that, but that's not possible. You just got to take care of what you focused on. So for me, you know, obviously I want to make some money, right, but I want to be known. I want to be known for enlightening, and I can hold my head high when I go to a venue and cats, you know, they dap me up and they're like, "Hey, man, you know, I went through a tough time, and I listened to your shit a lot. It kind of kept me focused. It kept me from making some bad decisions." You know, when I hear stuff like that, it makes it all worth it. So I guess hip hop is to help.
And you have a line like that in the track "No Peace for Kings." You rhyme, trying to spread a message to my people instead of loading up and grabbing weapons for the evil. Yeah. So more on what you were just talking about. But when did you decide, kind of, this was, you know, for you, this was going to be the purpose, you know, for you to use your art? Like, when was that moment where you're like, oh yeah, I got to, you know, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to go whatever I mean, you're obviously lyrically gifted enough to do the quote unquote easier route, right?
Yeah. Right.
When did you decide that's not the route I'm taking? I'm going this way.
It was, I mean, and early on too, I did a lot of that. I was like, oh, let me try this. Let me dabble here. Let's see what works. What do the fans want? And that was being more business-like. And that's what I'm saying now. A little later in my career, I feel like my perspective is changed just slightly. And not that it's askew. It's just I now value different things more. And I think before I was trying to spread a message, but I had to get my notoriety for it. I think I've arrived at the point now where it's, if you're around and you hear my music and you catch that message, then great. But I'm definitely not here to force it on anybody who doesn't want to hear it.
Right.
If all you trying to do is party and kick it, cool. Make sure your kids is fed.
Right.
If all you want to do is spread knowledge, that's cool. But, you know, don't be that dude at the party no one wants to hang out with, because 10 minutes in, you're talking about why Make America Great Again hats are the Illuminati and all this shit. Come on, man. Like, you can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Tim, people just have to not take everything so serious sometimes, and that's hard to remember. But yeah, for me, I think it was around the time when I started to kind of break underground, and I got, like when I hooked up with Matt, we got into the Almighty Project. I think being around them, that caliber of artists like Cappadonna, and hitting a couple spots with him, and like talking with Biz, and definitely Bronze up in Detroit, where we did the majority of our recording. Shout outs to the Wiseman up there. I learned that these guys don't do it for that reason. They don't do it to be on TV. They don't do it to be famous. They do it because they love it. So I just had to kind of step away from the other side of it, the business side. So when it comes to that kind of stuff now, I'm just like, all right, I'm going to deal with all this kind of business stuff now, so it's all kind of left brain, do it all at once, and then when it's time for art and for music, I don't deal with nothing else. You know, I just kind of pour myself into it, and I run with it from there. So, yeah, I would say probably meeting a couple of the other guys who were, in my book, legendary, and they treated it the same way I was. That let me know I was on the right path. So I was like, I'm just going to keep going, push forward.
On the track, All Gold Visions, you spit, search for that road that will make me whole, that will ease my troubles, that would feed my family. What role does your family play in your art, and how do you you draw inspiration from them?
Oh, man. My family, they're everything. As far as inspiration, I mean, on a daily, like even my youngest now, and you're running around chasing some Tods, and they're kind of learning the world and experience it for the first time as you're witnessing it. And for me, that's been profound, as a father. So I learn as much from them as I think I let on to them, maybe even more. And it just reminds me of how important the things that I'm doing are, or how important the choices I'm making are because of what it's going to affect later, or all the people it's going to affect. So, I don't move just as one person now. I'm moving for 5 or 6,
Mm-hmm.
I'm making plans for 5 or 6. So yeah, they're everything, man. They're a huge inspiration. I would definitely have to say it's my family. And then after that, probably the good old fashioned artist in me, the lyricist in me just hears good music and I want to compete, like all these other guys are, damn, his shit sounds good. That sounds good. Well, that's not trash. Why are all these people talking about there's no hip hop going on? Like, what the hell?
Right.
Like, it's time to go. Let's do it. There's tons going on. So, yeah, I get inspired by tons of things, but definitely family's foremost,
You've made this move to truly become an independent hip hop artist. I mean, talk about that move and kind of what does it mean in this day and age? What does it mean in this day and age actually to be a true independent hip hop artist?
Man, the game changes like every week. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there's constantly some new loopholes and red tape little things people are figuring out online that are kind of pushing them towards stardom, or kind of giving them the cheat codes to get into the game and shit. And if you don't lift your head and look around every once in a while, it doesn't matter how good your product is. If you're not playing on the same scale or in the same arena, it don't matter if you're Drake. If you're not following the same like streaming and the ability for people to have it at the drop of a dime, you're not gonna see those millions of sales or those streams and shit. As far as independent, I think for me it was all about most labels are looking at somebody who's already got a huge following and they get a couple million views on something on a video, right? So
right.
they don't want to put a lot of money into an artist who maybe isn't as marketable. So for me, cutting out the label is like, well, I'm also going to cut out the bullshit fans. This is going to be the exact kind of people that I want to reach. And because there's no other people, I can even charge less and I'll be able to do more. I could give them more art. I can give them more in view and in-depth things about the art. Because I feel if too many people start to put their hands on it, unfortunately, it does lose a little bit of its direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always for the bad thing. Sometimes the artist doesn't know his head from his ass, and he needs that. But other times it can become so overhandled that it's no longer natural. You know what I mean? So I feel the big shift in it for me was, if the fans want it, they're going to come and get it. Like Virgil and them and Off-White, they drop something and within an hour on the store, the shit's sold out. Or in the next couple of days, there's people doing resale and hitting StockX, and they selling it for $1,000 and $1,200, $1,500, all this crazy shit. But if they want it, they're gonna go get it, Tim.
Yeah.
They're gonna find it.
Yeah.
So if I cut out the middleman and I don't leave these hackers to go online and be like, oh yeah, I bought 10 copies, now I can charge out the ass. He's not even really listening to the art. But Bob, who's only got $20, can come straight to my site and get himself the vinyl and come with a CD. So now he's got something to look at and enjoy for his collection. He's got something to listen to, and he don't feel like he got fleeced. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, it was, I guess for me, it's about immediate fan connection. Like, you know, if anybody buys anything from me, there's no manager, there's no secretary. Like, I'm reading the emails, I'm answering, I'm shipping shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's straight there. So, yeah, I just looked at it like, until I have those huge numbers, and then, you know, if labels want to come and start throwing numbers at me, then we deal with that then. But as of right now, I'm happy where I'm at. I feel like independent's very good because it'll give strength back to the listeners. It'll allow them to kind of to choose what's hot again, right, instead of having to listen to the top 40 and, you know, Clear Channel and iHeartRadio, which is all owned by certain shit, and, you know, they're going to pump this and not play this as much and curve these dudes, and it's all a huge game. So any way you can find to cut out as many of those steps as possible between you and the fans, I'm all for. So independent it is.
I want to go back to the track All Gold Visions, because I feel like this is just kind of a track that you just really lay stuff out there, and in a weird way for me it was even though I've heard your other work, it's a kind of a way of you kind of reintroducing yourself to people.
Right on.
I heard the beat's amazing. It's like kind of maybe a violin, but could be a synthesizer. Not sure. But if you could just talk about how this track came together, and kind of where were you when you wrote it? Kind of what was your mindset, and how did this, like, the idea for the track come to you?
Gotcha. All Gold Visions, man. Shout out to Verbal. Fat Sound Records, the home team. Verbal produced that. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is either, man, but he be, like, I don't know, it could be 1965 Albania vinyl. It could be, you would never know, man. Right. So he's a genius with that. So shouts Verb on the production. All Gold Visions was kind of like exactly that. Like, I had some dreams you kind of wake up from. You didn't quite remember the linear activity of the dream, but you know there was these few important things, and a few of the important things that I remember from this dream was like, I remember feeling very motivated, and I remember everything was gold. It was like Egyptian shit, like Pharaoh shit. Yeah. Like, I was in a sarcophagus and it was lined in gold, and the room was gold, and my goblets was gold. Everything was gold. And it kind of brought me back to the whole No Peace for Kings thing and my MO, and it was like, I've got to talk about it. So I think my translation for All Gold Visions now is like, back in the day, I think a king really, it was gold. You really wanted to have gold. Now it's like, you want to have all those things other people, they covet, like gold, you know what I'm saying, like fine jewelry. And for me, a big one is peace of mind, and being able to sleep at night and feel I did right by my people as a man. You know, my team's not hungry, my family's good, my wife is happy. You know, none of my dudes are out there having to carry guns and look over their shoulders and shit. Like, it's about the vision of having that life where it's all gold, where everything is taken care of and it fits in its place. And unfortunately, we bought a new house, you know, new car, took on a couple things. We got into the label stuff with Verb, and life was just tumultuous, man. It was moving fast, a lot going on. So I was like, I gotta vent. I gotta let this out. And All Gold Visions kind of became that. It was like a therapy session, man.
Nice.
The most cost-effective therapy session ever. You know what I'm saying? Right. But yeah, it was just me kind of airing out my insecurities and also my strengths, what I know I could do, what I know is possible, what I'm afraid could go wrong, and hope that, you know, somebody out there listening hears it, and even if it's just one line and they're like, damn, I feel like that, you know. Or I wanted to say that to my manager yesterday at Burger King, that fat motherfucker. Or, you know, I'm tired of fleecing these motherfuckers on the NASDAQ. I got to quit this shit. I got to find a job that lets me go home at night and I'm happy. You know what I mean? So if even one line made somebody go, shit, I get it. I understand. That's the struggle. Okay, I'm not so bad off. Mm-hmm. This motherfucker's going through it too. That's what it's all about.
There's track Nowhere to Run. You spit over, it's kind of a great piano beat. Kind of reminded me of a Nightmare on Elm Street, vibe.
Oh, nice.
What's your, if you just talk about the track a little bit, but what is your favorite beat instrument spit over? And for this track, how does the piano kind of contribute or, heighten, I guess, your lyrics and the purpose of this track?
Gotcha. And that's Tim, man. He be dissecting. He got the ear, man. For all you motherfuckers listening, you want somebody to give you the real rundown, you try and get Tim to bless you and put his ears on something, man. He knows.
Too kind. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Hey, but so Nowhere to Run. I guess to answer your first question, like the things that pop me on a beat is I really like original arrangement, but like live instrumentation. If it's brass, like I'm a sucker for horns. I'm a sucker for bugles. Any kind of very orchestral arrangement. Like Gershwin, old school kind of piano, melodic stuff. Just stuff that a human had to interpret. Mm-hmm. It's not like Mike Will made it where it sounds like the piano keys could have been just programmed to a loop. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got to sound like someone played it. There was some life in it, and then I breathed my life into it. I know that probably sounds mad crazy, but that's how I look at it.
Right,
And Nowhere to Run, I guess for me, when I heard the early turn of that beat, I thought, this is dramatic. This is very high speed, high energy. I felt like it was like if there was a new action movie coming out, this would be in the background while the bus was on fire and they were shooting the Max out the back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, this is paint. This is art right here. I need to make something very, very dramatic, very visceral, very visual. So Nowhere to Run came about solely based off the beat because it made me feel like there was a pressure going on, like you might have done something wrong. Every phone call you thinking there's somebody looking for you or the cops, or you got the bubble guts and shit. You checking the windows and shit, telling all the homies to lay low for a couple of days, shit like that. So I'm like, let's see, for the people who've never experienced this walk of life, how can I shed light on that? So I just came very aggressive and spoke about situations that I've been through or stories that I've heard from my fellow people. And some of the biggest ones was it always came back to them feeling like they had nowhere else to go. So they had to do what they had to do. So I felt like that was a very poignant point to make. So I'm like, let me make that the chorus. And, they give it a nice cornerstone for the structure. And then from there I was able to build and kind of paint. But yeah, that's kind of how I said earlier, Tim, like, if I'm not, that's my baby girl. Right. If I'm not trying to enlighten or if I'm not trying to educate, I'm definitely trying to spread light on something that maybe, you're not familiar with or other walks of life maybe aren't as in tune with. Maybe it'll change perspective on things for somebody, or hearing that kind of subject matter maybe will shed some light on shit to them. Maybe they'll treat somebody different the next day after they've heard this, Like, he might not just be from the hood. He might just be fucked up and trying to get by. He could just be like me, or he could be ready to fucking take my wallet, man.
Right.
There's nowhere to run. It's man eat man. So, yeah, I wanted that song to be like that, dramatic. I wanted it to be kind of scary and shit. So I think the piano gave it that life. If it wasn't for that piano, that song would have came out totally different. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is my final question. I appreciate thank you. I appreciate everything, your time, everything you're doing. This speaking with Nino Graye, new album, No Peace for Kings.
Yeah.
So Nino, you balance the kind of the 9-to-5 job, but I know with you it wasn't 9 to 5. It was like super early in the morning, full time type stuff. And now you're doing this art as your 9-to-5 job. This is 24/7. This is just you. What lyrics or or what lyrics or just a lyric of yours had you kind of step back, say, forget the 9-to-5 job. I am crazy, 100% talented, so I am going to focus on this 100% of the art. Like, what lyrics of yours kind of were kind of an oh shit moment? Like, yeah, I'm fucking good. You know?
Right. Shit, man. I know one of my personal favorites, and it was also one of those like too soon kind of moments.
Yeah.
But a lot of competitive hip hop is about being the first one to strike on subject matter. So I figured while I had the chance, I better do it. So let me tell you a story about this. So we did the track for Almighty called FAM, and it's Cool G Raps on the hook. I think it's me. I think it's Biz, Bronze, 80, and me. And my last line is, you rappers nowadays are more like M&D12. You lack the proof.
Damn.
And it's like, because they're always talking like DJ Khaled, we're number one in the booth.
Right.
But you're more like M&D12. You're lacking the proof. And it ended the verse, they cut the beat and everything. It becomes this very brutal, like abrupt drop. And it's just heavy fucking line. And we're in Detroit recording, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of was like, I hope they don't take this wrong. This is supposed to be just meant as a competitive lyrical thing, you know what I'm saying? But,
right.
Yeah, I got to say that was probably my craziest line. I think I felt like, yeah, if I'm given the right pedestal and people are listening, like, they're not going to be able to not want to go and check out my shit.
Right.
If they like hip-hop, because I'm going to give everybody's going to hear something on my album they like. That's my promise. So, yeah, I'm the dude that told all you rappers that you lacking the proof like Eminem and D12. So get hip, motherfucker, almighty.
What was the reaction to that line? Was it?
I got hit. I got a lot of inboxes about it, like the first, and I'm not going to stunt either. It was probably like the first couple days or the first week that it dropped. Like after that, it wasn't nothing. But I probably got like 30, 40 people hit me up like, yo, why you do that to M&D12? You know, and I'm like, right. I'm nobody, man. I'm just trying to make a name. So I came with as much controversy as possible. So, you know, I think they all understood that at the end of the conversations and shit that I held with them. But, you know, I made sure in any open facet or public facet to let them know, like, that's just competing, man. I'm just pushing the culture, you know. Nice. Of course, I got nothing against M and D12. I mean, they're some of the most cunning, like, motivated, well-to-do lyricists that ever done it, you know? So I just thought it was a very poignant line, and I knew if I said it now, no one else could. So it's very hard to get a line that no one else has said in hip-hop, especially nowadays. So, yeah, that's a feather in my hat. That's a big-ass picture of my face and all diamonds on the Dookie chain, you know what I'm saying?
All right, real quick, how, of course, new album is No Peace for Kings. How, of course, do people cop the album, follow what you're doing, and all that good stuff?
Yes. No Peace for Kings, available now, digital release on Bandcamp. You can go to highendartsupply.bandcamp.com and get you a copy of that. You look through Bandcamp, you'll also find all of my other solo discography under Nino Graye. You can follow me on Twitter at Nino Graye. On Instagram, Nino to the Gray. There's all types of shit on YouTube you could check out. But if you really want to get it from the horse's mouth, just hit me up.
Cool. He's Nino Graye, new album, No Peace for Kings. Great album. Nino, as always, it's great to have you on the library with Tim Einenkel.
Absolutely. Take care, Tim. Talk to you soon, bud.
Talk to you soon, man. Peace.
Peace.
When your space has the long-lasting, noticeable scent of Airwick Vibrant Scented Oils, it'll be the spot for everyone. From book club to game night, the kids can even host their friends.
Whoa, it smells amazing.
Airwick Vibrant Scented Oils are infused with 2 times more natural essential oils versus regular Airwick Scented Oils for our most authentic, nature-inspired fragrance experience. Transform your space with scents like white sage and mahogany or lavender and water lily. Now that's a breath of fresh Airwick.
Meet the next generation of podcast stars with SiriusXM's Listen Next program, presented by State Farm. As part of their mission to help voices be heard, State Farm teamed up with SiriusXM to uplift diverse and emerging creators. Tune in to Stars and Stars with Issa, as host Issa Nakazawa dives into birth charts of her celeb guests. This is just the start of a new wave of podcasting. Visit statefarm.com to find out how we can help prepare for your future. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.